Hello and welcome to this video. 2020 has been a big year for QuickBooks with a lot of new features being added in. So let's make sure we're all understanding and make sure that you know how to use QuickBooks in the best possible way.
I told him I can be a fighter if you want. I'll be there to catch you if you fall. I can make it brighter when it starts, I told him I would do it all for you, and I know you do it for me.
Hello, my name's Patrick, a Chartered Accountant, Certified UK Trainer, this little bad boy, and also that QuickBooks chat. Now 2020 has seen a lot of enhancements to QuickBooks. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take QuickBooks as it stands and we're going to have a look at, if you're going to start from scratch, what do you need to know about getting involved in QuickBooks in the first place? If you're brand new to QuickBooks, treat this as a guide to how to get started. And if you're a veteran to QuickBooks, use this as an idea to see some of those new features you may have missed that have crept in during 2020. Let's take a look. Okay, one thing that hasn't changed, which is a really good thing, is the fact that as soon as we get into QuickBooks, we're presented with our dashboard. And the dashboard is a really powerful tool. The idea of the dashboard is without you asking for it, you're going to be presented with lots of information about your business. And the idea then is you can take ownership and you can look at those and reflect on those numbers and you can see if they make sense to you. So really what the dashboard is doing is incentivizing you to make sure that the information's up to date and to make sure that the information in there is accurate as well. So I'd recommend that you really get to grips with this page so you can use it for what its intention is, and that's to give you confidence in the information you've got in QuickBooks. So as you can see, as soon as we go into the dashboard, there's lots of information we can look at. We've got the ability for a setup guide. You can just hide that, or you can go through each one of these checklists to make sure you're happy with how you've set up QuickBooks. Then it's all about understanding this information. Now this information here is telling you profit and loss, expense, invoice and sales. So it's giving you a breakdown of how your business is doing. But more important than that, I think, is this bank account section over here. Now the bank account section within QuickBooks is really powerful. You get to attach your bank to QuickBooks itself, meaning that every time you incur a transaction in that bank, it feeds through into QuickBooks. And as soon as you see it here, as soon as you have a look at the information here, you're starting to understand how you're doing. So you can see what the bank balance is and what's in there in information's included. Now straight away looking at this one, there's clearly something wrong here because my cash on hand is showing negative £66,000. So there's definitely something wrong. There's definitely something I need to look at to make sure that I'm happy with QuickBooks. From dashboard, the next place I would always go to when I first start is your accounting side and chart of accounts. Chart of accounts is really important for you to understand. Basically, as you're going through QuickBooks, what you're going to have to do is allocate different expenses and income to different categories. And categories are formed as part of your chart of accounts. So you need to understand and get to grips with what elements or what categories you already have and how you can adapt them to what your business needs might be. So as soon as you get to this page, say see chart of accounts, and this will give you a breakdown of all the different accounts that are already there. And you'll notice you'll have things like telephone, rent, repairs and renewals, subscriptions. But if you need to add any more to this list, then in the top right hand corner there's the new option. And from the new option, you can then include all the aspects you need to make sure that you've got the new one that would be. So for example, if I needed to quickly put in an expense, and this expense wanted to be office and maintenance, and it was my computer expenses, I would put that one in, press save and close. Now if I go to my filter, computer expenses is now a category that I can use. Also on the right hand side of every category is your action button. And there you can use the edit option to be able to make sure that you're happy and change anything you may need to. That's categories or chart of accounts. Make sure you're comfortable with what chart of accounts are there and add anything you need to. Don't be worried though, because if you find that you need to add a category in doing a particular transaction, then it gives you the option to do it within the transaction as well. So don't get too hung up over it. Just know that this is where you would go back to if you ever need to make any adjustments, or if you wanted to make entries en masse and just get everything in there that you know you're going to need. The next big one is transaction and banking. Now within 2020, this is one of the biggest changes that's happened, and one of the ones that's really critical, because banking is by far the strongest part about QuickBooks and the bit where you're going to save the most amount of time, and also you're going to have the most confidence in your figures. Because let's face it, if it's come from the bank account, it must be right. The numbers are going to be right, the dates are going to be right. All that could be possibly wrong is you allocating it maybe to something incorrect. But at least that data will get in there one way or another. So in here, from this section, you'll notice that you've got a whole new view of it. So instead of having the top bit is exactly the same, so this whole bit here is the same, but now you've got different terminology. So it's for review, categorize, and excluded. The principle's still the same. You need to move your transactions from for review to categorized, or from for review to excluded. Either way, what you're doing is you're saying either I want the transaction that QuickBooks seen, so when QuickBooks first sees the transaction, so when it first appears on the bank account, it goes into for review. Remember, for review is not in QuickBooks at this point in time. And then your choice is, well, is it something I need to exclude because I don't want it in there? Very rare, but there are certain circumstances like duplication of data or something like that. Or what mostly will happen is you want to bring that transaction and put it into QuickBooks. If that's the case, you need to move it from for review to categorize. As an example, here's a BP transaction here. I want to categorize the transaction because I want to say that it's a brand new transaction. I can put the payee there. Personally, I would always put one in there, but for speed, we're not going to today. And then I just say what category it is. QuickBooks is quite clever. It's going to try and give me an incentive to what it is. But please, 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 always check that category. Even if QuickBooks has assigned something it thinks is right, when you press the button add, you're saying that you're happy with that category. So just double check that category, make sure you're spot on with it. With the new banking screen, we just press add and it moves from for review to categorized. And now you'll see in there, along with all the other transactions I've already done, is that BP transaction just there. That's the straightforwardness of it, but it's the fact that you now have extra functionality in here. So in here, we have the option to filter a lot more than we ever had to before, between dates, between the type of transaction, and by name of a transaction. In this little settings cog in the right hand side, we also have the option to go in and to start putting on grouping. Grouping's huge because just like we've got here, we can now break down either into description or maybe into dates, or maybe into what's categorized or matched already. Meaning that you can then go through and deal with these groups instead of having to go just chronologically or however you've been doing it before. I think that's a huge difference in the way that we attack things. Okay, what I've done now is I've refreshed the screen but shown you more information of how that dashboard can be so useful. Now we've got more data in here, there's a lot more in here that's making sense. And again, we need to get confidence of it. We need to make sure that this cash balance looks right for us. Was there a point where we actually went below this figure? Is there something that we might be missing here? Are we happy that all these bank accounts and cash accounts and drawings accounts and everything else that goes with it, are we satisfied that they look realistic to us? And again, are we happy that things like our unpaid invoices and overdue invoices are correct? But the best thing about this screen is you can click into anything and you can get straight into there. So please, please, please get used to this dashboard. In 2020, it's had a facelift. It had some extra functionalities to it, and it's only going to make it better. It's only going to make it so it's more useful for you going forward. The next thing that's had a bit of a change is our new button. So our new button has moved. Our new button used to be in the top right-hand corner. Now it's in the top left-hand corner. Now, it's actually stayed pretty similar in terms of what actual functionality is in there. Still worth going through in the first place. So what we need to concentrate on here is our functionality. And let's start with invoice. Invoice is important to us because that's when we send an invoice out and we want it to be paid at a later date. With QuickBooks, we can send the invoice directly from the system, and we can even put a big pay now button and also collect by direct debit if we want to. So it makes it really easy for us to get an invoice out there and get it paid as well. So that's an invoice. The next one you care about is going to be sales receipt. A sales receipt is when you've already received the money and you need to record that transaction. So either it's come into your till or you've already made the sale. Whatever it's going to be, sales receipt is how you then record the transaction. So invoice and sales receipt are going to look very similar. Doesn't matter which one I click into. You've got to choose a customer on both. You've got to put a date in both. But the key thing is on this one, as a sales receipt, I've also got to say where the money's gone to. On an invoice, you don't need to say where the money's gone to because you haven't received the money yet. And when that money comes into your bank account, you just allocate the money to that invoice and you're good. The next thing to notice down here is just that you have products and services. And all products and services is what you're selling. And it's to make it really easy. It's so that if I choose any of these items here, all of my defaults are already done for me, from VAT to the amount to everything else that goes with it. So all you need to do is create a list of products and services that you sell for your business to make it easier for you to quickly generate invoices going forward. And that's the point of products and services. Another big new addition to QuickBooks is tags. Now the idea of tags is the idea of you being able to discover this transaction again. So from here, you might want to put a tag on it to say that this is something that we want to follow up on in a few days' time, or whatever it's going to be, because you want to see the quality and make sure that the person's received it, or whatever the reason's going to be. So you can put a tag on there so that you can discover it at a later date. Tags get really more useful when we start talking about suppliers. So this is about money out. An expense is a transaction that you've already paid for and you want to record it, whereas a bill is a transaction that you haven't yet paid for and you've got some sort of terms to pay for it later. So again, just like sales invoice and receipt, bills and expenses are very, very similar. It's just the fact that an expense is something you've already paid for, like you've gone to the post office, or the bill is something you're going to pay for later because you've got some sort of term. So you've been to bill base or somewhere like that. If I jump into an expense, very similar to how our sales invoice looked, we got to put your pay at the top. You say where you've got to pay for it from an expense. Obviously you don't need that as a bill payment, and then you just say what category. So again, if I had that computer expense we made at the beginning of today, that can be coming up as well. Here's where tags, I think, becomes really useful. So tagging is the ability for you to put discoverability. Well, here's a brilliant one, because what if I was unsure I've done this right? Well, create a tag to say for review. Therefore, your accountant or someone else can have a look at that for you and give you confidence you've done it right, and have a look and see if it's right or wrong. So they go in and they could put for review category. Therefore, I would then know that I've got to come back to this at a later date. I'm going to make sure that that category is correct for whatever this transaction is going to be. Best of all, don't forget to add your attachments in your attachment box, so whoever coming to review it can see that document and go, yes, you've made that right, or no, actually, I'd probably put it here. A few other new things that have come through this year. Cash flow is the big one. So cash flow is all about making sure that you have confidence how much money is going forward. And it's going to predict the next 90 days for you to hopefully see that you've got enough money, or if you need to do something about the fact cash flow might be tight. So the idea of cash flow is that it will read your banking transactions as they go along, and then it will start to predict your bank transactions going forward using a projection for the next 90 days. You have the ability to also add transactions in here to do kind of what if scenarios. So you could say that what if I was to take this loan out, what if I was to look at borrowing this money, or what if I didn't receive the rent or some sort of income that later down the line. Whatever it's going to be, these add transactions will not affect the rest of QuickBooks. It's just a little sandbox area where you can play around to your heart's content, looking at different scenarios and how that affects your business. The next big feature that came in 2020 was the ability to put receipts into there directly. Now you have the ability to either email them in or use your mobile phone to take a photo of them. Either way, it's going to use OCR technology to read that transaction. So you just take a photo or send a scanned copy in, or send the original document if you've got it by email in the first place directly to QuickBooks. They'll extract the important information. They're going to extract information like date, amount. So if I look at this one here, my Virgin bill, I click on it, and what it's done is it's automatically found that £4.80 for me and put it there. Automatically found what the VAT code is, automatically found what the VAT is, and it's automatically read that it's a Virgin Media business. And then it's got the date from there as well. So it's using AI, it's using OCR technology to be able to record that information, saving you bundles of time. All you need to do is work in some sort of way in your workflow where you find it really easy to get that data directly into QuickBooks, and then let QuickBooks do the hard work for you. Better yet, once it's found that information, it's either going to create a brand new transaction for you, or it's going to find that transaction already in QuickBooks and attach the attachment directly there. Really powerful solution, and it's included directly in QuickBooks itself. The next big thing that's come through in 2020 is reporting has had a makeover. And now you get these really powerful elements included in what's called our Performance Center, which is going to let you know how your business is doing. So in QuickBooks, we have lots of reporting options, and we can really go into finer detail. For anyone who's really into reports, they're going to absolutely love it. But for people who just want to just get a general grip of how their business is doing, and they prefer visual aids opposed to long-winded reports, this is going to be perfect for you. The Performance Center is there to give you confidence, let you know how your business is doing, and let you know and understand in simple terms what's going on with your business. Final part is just to remember, no new bits here, but don't forget that search bar in that top right hand corner. That search bar is where you're going to be able to go along and make sure that you can find transactions. So you can start typing in there for £100, it will bring back £100. Or if you start typing for a report, it'll bring a report up. So if I want to look at my profit and loss. And finally, it'll also let you know your last 10 transactions. So if you made any mistake or you feel like you want to just go over and check anything again, click on that search bar, click in the transaction, and that transaction will appear for you. Not just the transaction, but any tags, and importantly, any attachments you may have with it as well. And that's it. A quick look into what's happened in 2020 with QuickBooks. And hopefully that's shown you that basically with QuickBooks, the more data you put in there, the more it's going to learn, the more confidence you're going to get over it. Remember my golden rule to bookkeeping. The most important person that you're bookkeeping for is yourself, your business, making sure you know what's going on inside your business at any point. If a category makes sense for you, if posting a transaction makes sense for you, then that's the important thing. If that means that you're going to get a benefit from that category being there, then that's the important thing. Your accountant and everyone else who may look at that detail, that's their job, is to interpret what you've already done. So please, you know, when it comes to which category should I post this to and where should I post this to, just concentrate on what makes sense for you, what makes valid sense for your business and how your business is growing. Good luck with it all. If you need any more help, then please make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. That's what this channel is all about. It's giving you confidence in using QuickBooks, giving you confidence in how to best use QuickBooks for your business. At the end of the day, the most important thing is about growing your business, and you need to have the right information behind you to make sure that you've got everything in place. If this has been a little bit overwhelming for you, don't forget our friends over at Boffix. They can get you a really good discount on QuickBooks, so we can make sure you're not overpaying for QuickBooks. Even if you're already paying QuickBooks now, have a chat to them, you'll still save money going forward. But if you're also thinking that maybe this is a bit overwhelming, maybe I want someone else to do the bookkeeping for me, then they've got you covered. They can do your bookkeeping, they can do your accounts, they can do everything that goes with it. My name's Aaron Patrick. It's been an absolute pleasure to do this video for you. I hope you get something out of it. I hope your business succeeds because of this video, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.
I told him I can be a fighter if you want. I'll be there to catch you if you fall. I can make it brighter when it starts. I told him I would do it all for you, and I know you do it for me too. I can be a fighter if you want. I can be a fighter. I can be a fighter if you want. I can be a fighter if you want. Oh, the way that I feel, yeah, I know that it's real, 'cause I can get him out of my head. I don't care what we do, everything's feeling new. Even if we stay in bed, my heart is saying yeah. You know I want him, nah. My heart is saying yeah.